The white man pays Reverend Martin Luther King, subsidizes Reverend Martin Luther King, so that Reverend Martin Luther King can continue to teach the Negroes to be defenseless. That's what you mean by nonviolent. Be defenseless. Be defenseless in the face of one of the most cruel beasts that has ever taken the people into captivity. That's this American white man. And they have proved it throughout the country by the police dogs and the police clubs. 100 years ago, they used to put on a white sheet and use a bloodhound against Negroes. Today, they have taken off the white sheet and put on police uniforms. They've traded in the bloodhounds for police dogs, and they're still doing the same thing. And just as Uncle Tom, back during slavery, used to keep the Negroes from resisting the bloodhound or resisting the Ku Klux Klan by teaching them to love their enemy or pray for those who use them despitefully. Today, Martin Luther King is just a 20th century or modern Uncle Tom or a religious Uncle Tom who is doing the same thing today to keep Negroes defenseless in the face of attack that Uncle Tom did on the plantation to keep those Negroes defenseless in the face of the attack of the Klan in that
Well,
day.
I don't think of love as, in this context, as emotional bosh. I don't think of it as a weak force, but I think of love as something strong and that organizes itself into powerful direct action. Now, this is what I tried to teach in the struggle in the South, that we are not engaged in a struggle that means we sit down and do nothing. That there's a great deal of difference between non-resistance to evil and non-violent resistance. Non-resistance leaves you in a state of stagnant passivity and deadened complacency, wherein non-violent resistance means that you do resist in a very strong and determined manner. And I think some of the criticisms of nonviolence, or some of the critics, fail to realize that we are talking about something very strong, and they confuse non-resistance with nonviolence.
The goal of
welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. We have Phil Andrews here today, and I was just, Phil is a younger man in his 50s, and I was just showing him, giving him a little exposure of how black people treat each other, how great leaders, like Malcolm. Well, everybody has this image of Malcolm, the white man's a devil. And if you ever see the other closing I present to you is where Malcolm in '64, just before he died, he said, I work with anybody. I don't care what color you are. But this is how we dealt with our leaders dealt with each other in the 60s. And we have you here today because you called into the show and you had been watching for years, and I was interested in hear what your take was on our leaders in the past and how you've become a leader. And I understand you and Graham are hooked up family-wise.
Oh,
well,
yes.
family work together. Yeah. So give us a little introduction of who you are.
Well, my name is Phil Andrews. I'm the president of Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a past president of 100 Black Men of Long Island, two-term president. And I was in the 100 Black Men for 25 years, since I was 25 years old. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to say is Malcolm X, the best thing I've ever heard on him, I read in a book, he did what we all have the capacity to do. He went deeply within himself and he changed himself. Mm-hmm. And he transformed himself. He learned more about himself. He became a better human being and was able to exercise his power. So we all have the capacity to be like Malcolm.
Right, right. So that's what you see there as a younger man.
Yes.
Well, that's what we had talked about. Graham, what's your take on this?
Well, all change begins with a decision. Mm-hmm. And every human being has the capacity to change or to improve. It's just a matter of making that decision and then staying with it. I remember years ago when I decided to become a vegetarian, people asked me, well, was it hard? I said, no. Well, did you slowly? No. I made a decision and I started it at that moment and that was it. Mm-hmm. So we think that we need to be weaned off of things at time. Even when I worked in Spanish Harlem with youth, those that were addicted, I told them, you want to get off, you're going cold turkey. Mm-hmm. You're not going into some treatment program and get into methadone and be on methadone the rest of your life.
Another drug.
Another drug, and even worse than the heroin.
That's
so they went cold turkey. And I told them, until you're ready to make that decision, don't sit at my desk. I'm not here for the chit chat. I'm here. If you're ready to go, we're going. So it's about making a decision, and all of life is decisions. Sometimes we make the right one, and sometimes we make the wrong ones. But Malcolm made the good decisions later in life. It's unfortunate that, you know, they say youth is wasted on the young, but experience brings you to a point where you get a better understanding. We all get to that point, and I guess it's called maturity.
Amen.
Intellectual, spiritual, whatever. It's a level of maturity. Some of us never arrive, and then others do.
That's a great point. You know, when I was in Rikers Island under David Dinkins, we had a program called Institute for Inner
You
Development.
were a correction officer.
Yes, for the first time ever under Dinkins, we had advisory people in the community on the board of the jail. And what we did was we was trained to be facilitators as the correction officers. And anybody that know about facilitation is, you know, back in the day, we had a community where if we didn't know what decision to make, we would get in a circle and we would help feedback around the discussion. And that's all we need today, like you were saying, is how do we increase our decision-making capacity? Through facilitation, through community dialogue. I mean, sometimes if these young people knew there was other things involved in success, like mentoring, and we work with them, maybe they wouldn't go into drugs. But facilitation is a very important skill because it's a critical listening skill. And when you listen to people, you could give them advice, but you don't want them to make the ultimate decision, because if you make the decision for them, right, you're not really helping them, right?
No, not at all.
So they trained us as correction officers in 8 weeks to be a facilitator, and we had prisoners learning how to read. And the violence came down in Rikers Island, but they took the program away when Dinkins was no longer the mayor.
So Rikers Island, you know, is a horror chamber today. And most of my audience know of Rikers Island through Khalif Browder. And the reputation of correction officers during his little stay there makes you ashamed to be a correction officer. What do you think about the correction officer and the Khalif Browder case?
Well, I think a correction officer is a leader, just like a police officer is a leader on the beat. And I had a discussion with you prior to coming on the show that I manage my area. I think I was one of the areas that they had less violence in my whole almost 18 years on the job. They would cut you up after I went to lunch because it's really about management. It's really about being a leader, how you respect people, they respect you. But I was firm too, fair, and consistent, because they do look for role models. I mean, you can, through communication, how your posture, you know, nonverbal communication, all those good things they teach you, it really does work to be an example as a human being. And I gave them everything that they were supposed to get. But if you disrespected me, I was going to toe the line. So I think officers are a leader, and leadership it's always leadership, whether you're in the Army. There's a book in the Army talk about be, know, and do. What if you had to do the right thing in the face of death? Your character had to outstand, and the police officer had to do that, right? Yeah. Sometimes you could be in a tough situation, but you know, be and do, and you do the right thing at the end, because it could save your life and your partner's life by having character. Character is important in tough situations.
Always, always. As Martin Luther King, you have to judge people by the... Come on, I'm only allowed to do that, you know.
I was trying to pound it off. I thought I pounded it off.
Anyway, the strength of your character, you know, we should judge people by the content of their character.
And I trained thousands of officers. The academy was so impressed with my leadership in the prisons that they waited to bring the recruits to me to train for many years.
What would you do with Rikers Island now? Close it down?
Well, I think it's a leadership. The officers are scared to do their job, but I had this discussion with some current officers. It's always leadership. It's always leadership. It's always, nobody can say you can't defend yourself if you need to, if the situation. But every situation is different. But I do believe that it's about leadership when you're dealing with people. When you're dealing with people, whether it's on the street, one-on-one, a police officer, some people you could be a hothead officer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen officers
plenty
make
of 'em
mistakes.
out
I told them, hey, the area is secure. Why did you open the door? We all were safe. Now you brought the situation out with thousands of prisoners. So I think we have to use our sense. It's really, you have to use good old common sense and people skills.
Everybody out there knows maybe one or two good cops. But it seems like I always get the good guys on my show. Oh,
We get to some of the bad ones if you want.
Can you tell me some of the bad situations that you've been in when you've come to, I mean, Graham has plenty of stories about that.
Well, most of my stories was good because when I was working, I was doing the right thing. And even the management used to come to me and they would say, man, I don't know what's the matter with the officers. They ain't doing the right thing. Well, I said, you got your foot on the desk. You have to lead by example as a supervisor.
Okay.
So, like, it's a ripple down effect. One time we had this warden, he was so outstanding, and he carried himself with such thing. Don't let them see you slouching. Posture, all of those things, pride, with the appearance of your uniform.
Yeah.
So we have to be the example. And, you can't expect somebody on the line level to do the right thing if the people on the next level are not doing the right thing.
All right. I think we should talk a little bit about what happened this morning. So what I want to do is, we're just going to divert to, we'll get to your business end of it. But I just want to run a piece, Central Park 5, run that piece for me. And we're going to talk about Donald Trump and who's incited all this violence that came up this morning with the attack on the Republicans and the ball field. All right, we'll come right back at you.
Donald Trump then comes out. And Donald Trump, a common citizen, he takes his own money, pays for newspaper space in New York City's main newspapers. And he calls for the reinstatement of the death penalty specifically for the Central Park jogger case. There were other folks who were chiming in and they were saying things like, if we took the eldest one of them, Corey Wise, and we hung him from a tree in Central Park, and if we took the others and we horsewhipped them, maybe our park would be safe again. This is what, this whole process that they put us through was so amazing that when I tell young people about it today, and my mentor, of course, is definitely Malcolm X, but when I say Nelson Mandela, because people always ask me, they say, well, had I not known you was in prison, I would have never known. Like your demeanor, your presence, the way that you carry yourself. I've seen people who come home from prison, you don't even look like that. And I said, well, Mandiba used to say, to be angry, to be bitter, is like drinking poison and expecting your enemies to die. They don't care what they do to you and how they do it. They're like, man, I'm sure Donald Trump is sleeping on his plush king size, custom-made beds with the pillowcases and all of that stuff that has 8,000 thread counts. I'm sure, somebody wrote in one of the papers, they said when they found out that we were innocent, you would hope and wonder that we would have received some sort of apology. And they said this thing about apologizing was the dust for one of his maids to sweep up. The only apology, people always ask me, they say, have you ever received an apology? And the only apology that we have ever received, the only apology we have ever received was from one of the courtroom artists that used to draw us. We went run over by a few different trains and we looking, we see some light, some trains and some cars that run us over. And we think that this is the justice coming, you know. So with that,
like the slave ships when they sail, but they don't know my people was made to go. My people's all slaves hell. My people got more people for them. That's more people, more sisters and brothers. My people stay strong and ours. My people will never fail. My people will remain with a story to tell. My people was made to go.
Impressive to say the least. But that's the story of Donald Trump, what he incites in people. And like my man said, to haters to drink poison and expect your enemies to die. That's so profound. That's the lessons that he learned. Like, we can't hate, but we can correct things. Now, how do we do that? How do we learn to stop hating each other and killing each other and blaming it on somebody else? That self-hate that's still in us, how do we eliminate that stuff? We're going to talk about business, and you've gotten gun-ho about something else, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
And you're head of the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce. Do you have a counterpart?
Just the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
That's the Chamber of Commerce, right? But you're the African American Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
So what do you think about let's talk a little bit about Trump and how he is affecting us as business people.
Well, one of the things that I do believe is that if you get to a point that your character can't sustain, you will not succeed. Right. And I had wrote an article about presidential degrees of separation, does it matter, in the Huffington Post. And what I essentially said was that normally when someone runs for elected office in a level like this, they learn more from the people. They learn about diversity. They hear the voices of people, you know, and they become a better human being by dealing with thousands of people and going to small towns. But evidently he didn't learn anything. And that's why we're still seeing the foundation of, he built the campaign on a foundation that was not solid. And he does not have the leadership skills that's going to sustain him in this office. And,
well, we see this morning, this one individual who was Bernie Sanders supporter. He took it on his own to attack the Republicans in the park. And he wasn't very successful in killing too many.
No.
But I guess he made a point. But just like you know, the Central Park 5, you can't hate. You got to do something more than that.
You know, you would think that after all these years, you had Gabby Gifford, who was shot years ago. When Reagan was the president.
He was shot.
Reagan was shot, and also another congressman or something was shot in that incident. Now, it wasn't enough that a president had been shot. We've had others killed before, but the issue of gun control and gun violence, it didn't affect them even when Sandy Hook occurred. You know, I got to meet some of the families from Sandy Hook a few years ago. You would think, and I remember seeing President Obama with tears in his eyes, talking about that incident. And the insanity of Americans believing that they have to have the right to bear arms. We don't hunt elk, we don't hunt moose, we don't hunt deer anymore. Everybody's going to Walmart or wherever they go to get their steak. They're not chasing buffalo on the plains. These weapons are military-style weapons, AR-15. Fortunately, this guy was a piss-poor shot compared to the Dallas shooting where you had combat-trained veterans who were dropping police officers with pinpoint accuracy. For the number of rounds this guy discharged, it's a miracle that only 5 people were struck. And looking at when you look at the old videos from the campaign where Trump is talking about particular, knock them out, you know, back in the old days, we beat their so-and-so.
That's right.
This is what he has fomented.
That's right.
And it's come back upon the people who failed to take action. And this is the thing. The philosopher Burke said, all that is necessary for evil to triumph is that good men do nothing.
Do nothing.
But you really can't be a good man if you're doing nothing. You're not a good man. Good men do something. But these congressmen have stood behind this Second Amendment, and it's come to the point where even a congressman had his 10-year-old son with him this morning.
Was he hurt?
He wasn't hurt. He was able to get to the dugout, and he hid under the bench, and they covered him.
So he wasn't hurt?
Wasn't hurt. Okay. But think about it now. You have congressional members and a congressional leader who is shot. What does it take before these same people who are standing behind these bills fail to take action? They talked about how mentally ill people were not even to be screened because they have a right to bear arms. What are you talking about? So here is a man that felt Trump was not the person he wanted, didn't like the congressman. He said he supported Bernie Sanders. I know Bernie didn't want his name in this.
No,
mess.
he denounced
he doesn't
he denounced
promote violence. Trump does, but this is what comes back to you or to the people around you. So it's important that, again, it comes down to decisions. And we're seeing it in these hearings with Sessions and these. That guy can't tell a good lie, let alone keep a straight face when lying. And the Congress and these committees, they're failing to take the necessary action to put an end to the insanity so that this country can move forward. Nothing is being done, for the most part, in Washington. All right? Trump needs to be impeached. Others need to be charged. And I'm sure we will get to that with this special prosecutor.
How long is it going to take?
We can't say, because criminal investigations are just that.
So we're looking at 2019 for any change?
We don't know. It depends upon what information they have. See, and this is the thing. Sessions lied in the beginning when he was going for his approval to be appointed, and now he comes back a second time insulted because people suggest that he was involved in something illegal. Well, we know you lied the first time. You have no integrity with us. How long it will take, we don't know. When all of the information is gathered, because you got to consider, this is not just going back to 2015. They're going further back. Look at a few things in the timeline. I don't want to hold up. Look at Jared. And look at Trump's daughter. They were going together in college. They broke up. Jared's parents didn't want him going with her because she was a Gentile. They got back together
that's right.
a couple of years later. She
that.
converted to Judaism, right? They get married. Trump is broke back around 07. He borrowed money. His resources were gone. He got lending from the Russian banks. Jared Kushner's parents came here from Russia in 1949.
Okay.
And a lot of the people that you're seeing involved in this stuff have ties to Russia through their genealogies.
Okay.
So she marries Jared to bring some money to her father, who's broke. Then he writes this fictitious The Comeback Kid, and he's back on his feet. So they have to go back now 10 years to examine banking records, phone records, to see just how far back. This goes back. This is not just about Kislyak and Sessions meeting with him. This is going back over 10 years.
That's right.
So it's going to take time to compile all of this data. We're going through MUDs, message unit directors on your phones, right? Every phone call you ever made, we're looking at it. We're checking to see who you called, the duration of the call. We may not know the content of the conversation, but it's to establish the relationship. And every time he opens his mouth, or Sessions opens his mouth, I don't recall, I just don't know, I don't recall. They're putting the case together, because every time you open your mouth and say you don't recall, and you do, that's a charge under the U.S. Code.
But the only way he can be impeached is if the House has to impeach him.
Well,
As long as they have the majority, nothing's going to happen. Right?
I think that people will start to wake up in the Republican Party.
In the House.
They've been making wrong
What's
decisions.
the majority? You can't change the majority until 2018.
The thinking of the majority to have him removed from office, that is doable.
You think so?
That is doable. And if he's charged by, as a result of the FBI investigation
Mueller?
with Mueller,
Well, I think he's going to be so bold as to fire Mueller.
that would be a wrong move because it
It
further
doesn't
shows
matter.
us he's covering
That's all
up.
he's ever done anyway.
All right, he's covering up. Understand something. The agents, one thing that we as investigators love to do is take down a big name with a
Yeah.
good case. All right? They're going to take him down. If the case is there, they'll take Trump down. Don't second guess the NSA, the FBI, or intelligence.
Okay.
Those people are the true patriots of
I'm
the
counting
country.
on him. I'm
They will
counting on him.
protect the country against anybody, even the president. They don't care who the president is. Their job is to protect the country. So watch and listen. Mueller is not saying anything because he doesn't need. When people come up to me, detective, you have any? I don't talk to the press
Right.
because it's none of your business to know.
Right.
You don't have the right to know, and it's none of your business. I'm working for the family of the victim. That's who I'm working for,
Right.
to bring them
Right.
closure.
Right.
So as Mueller does his work, he's not responding. Preet Bharara,
That's right.
Another one.
That's right. What's he doing?
he's,
I'm
trust
sure-
me,
I'm sure
Mueller
he's-
is talking to
I'm
him.
sure.
He's talking
Sure
to the
he is.
young lady that was the
brilliant.
acting
That's
attorney
right.
general that
That's
Trump
right.
fired.
That's
Mueller
right.
is talking to everybody because this is a continuous threat. And Trump is so stupid, he brings his attorney from real estate into his issues with the White House to defend him. That attorney can't defend him in federal court against these kind of charges. This is not somewhere where you're hustling migrant workers and immigrants over the pay and the construction. This is not what
ripping
that is.
people off.
And as they said, no attorney in Washington wants to defend him. What does that say about him?
Well, they know he's guilty. I mean, he fessed up himself. He gave us the answer about Comey. I mean, he said, I fired him because of the Russian investigation on
So
public.
obstruction.
Why is it taking so
hindering
long?
prosecution. These are all formidable charges.
But you know
they're
what
gonna put a tight
what
package
bothers
together.
me the most is that the Russians, Putin, the villain of the planet, is in here messing with us, and these Republicans are still backing this man that talked about their mothers, their fathers, everybody. He said he had the birther movement. You know, the reason why he did it, he didn't really believe Barack Obama was not born in this country. The reason why he did it is to become a Republican, because the Republicans were stupid enough to believe it.
Right.
Jared, his son, told that to somebody else,
Right.
a reporter, and they came out in the news. So why is it these Republicans are they so warped with power that they would take anything, a foreign government, Putin come in here and disrupt everything? Trump comes in and takes back every good thing Obama did, and nobody's up in arms about it?
Follow the money trail.
Yeah, but it's
Go
taking
online,
too long.
Look up ALEC, A-L-E-C. It's
You
an
think
acronym.
this guy that got on the baseball field is not patient enough to wait for justice to be declared and to try to take it into his own hands? Are there more quiet people coming on sick of this crap and ready to attack every Republican they see because of the stupidity of this? How do they let a foreign government come in here and take over and disrupt everything we do? How is it?
This is counterintelligence. It's espionage. It's what we do there. It's what they do here. It's what
chicken
every
coming
country
home
does.
to roost.
No, I'm not saying that. Listen to what I said.
Okay.
Every country has their spies working. Ours are in Russia, theirs are in the U.S. We have people in London, we have
Trump.
people in Germany, and they have people here. But now we allege to be allies, but the fact is we have operatives working around the world. And we have toppled governments and we've propped up people, and they're doing the same thing to us.
I still say it's chickens coming home to roost. We go back to 9/11.
Even before that,
I'll
you
go back to 9/11.
You go back to 1950.
Well, I'm just
when
going
we
to the 21st century.
the 21st.
The 21st century I can talk about. I don't have to go back that far to talk about the dirt and how, oh, well. It's just, I always go back to 9/11 because that always bothered me so. I mean, buildings falling down from what? Airplanes? Come on. And the country's laid back and still give memorials all around. And we know it was done for money.
Yeah.
And how many shows have we done on that? People look at us, why are you still talking about 9/11? Because of the hypocrisy of America and what they do. So here, this is what we're seeing with Donald Trump. The fools, 62 Americans voted for him. For what? And look what he's doing.
62.
And still 62 million people. What did I say?
62 people.
I forgot the million. I forgot the million. But this is, this morning I watched that and I said, deep in my heart, I said, you could have got more than that. I mean, what did you, and see, like he said, like hate is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to drop dead. But I had to catch myself. I said, no, you don't wish bad things on anybody. That's not you, Winston. But I felt, how can you get more than that? You only shot that one? And I had to catch myself. That's why I paid that piece by the Central Park 5. And, you know, and I think we all have to take aback ourselves and really look inside and understand what's happening to us.
Well, I think Dinkins, one of the best quotes I ever heard on politics was by David Dinkins. What he said essentially is, all politics is rhetoric until you have to do the job. And like you said, he got in, but he's certainly shown himself not qualified to do this position.
Well, he never expected to win. The whole case of Russia was here to disrupt, because Putin hated Hillary. Everybody knows that, and yet they're still doing what? Justifying Trump? How can they do that?
Well, when we talked about character earlier, my pastor always says, your talent and your skill will collapse if you don't have character.
Right.
And you can look at a number of people in sports, entertainment, how their lives just fell apart. Talented and gifted people, but the character was shaky and the weight of everything brought them down. I remember when, was it last year, my son was running for mayor in his town, and he called me up. He wanted to speak with David Dinkins, and I called Mayor Dinkins up. He said, sure, you know, I'll speak with your son. And he said to him, he said, let me tell you this. If you want to be mayor for any reason other than serving the people, don't run.
Right.
Don't run.
Right.
And to get that, you know, my son was so blessed and proud to have gotten a few moments in talking with a piece of history. And he said, no, that's why I want to run. He said, because I see what's going on here where I live, and I want to make a change. So Mayor Dinkins said, then run, do the best that you can. We have gotten away from, you know, we have political parties which take precedent over the country and the welfare of the people. Even the evangelical movement in the country, I read a number of articles. The evangelicals, you know, they're always like, we have a lock on God and all Christians are Republicans, and they were backing Donald Trump. How can you, as an evangelical, back a man like Donald Trump who boasts about grabbing women's genitals, sexually abusing
Lowlight.
women, and the things that he was talking about. And in the article, they said that the evangelicals have forsaken God and taken hold of Donald Trump. And that's the thing. Where is the true integrity in who you are and what you are? When you put someone before, in terms of the politicians, when you put your party before your country, you're wrong. It's not about your country. It's not about Democrat, Republican. It's about the nation and the well-being of the people. And we don't have that anymore in Washington. There are people that think that way, but the vast majority of them don't. And they will not think as an individual. They're in the group, they're on the bandwagon, they're there to get along. And we have to really start critiquing any political candidate. I don't care where we are or what they're running for. We need to pick them apart and really know what is at the core of the individual. You're running for mayor? Who do you have in mind for a police commissioner? Who do you have in mind for the Department of Education? What are you thinking about these key issues? And as opposed to someone just standing up in front of you and handing you some stuff. We need to critique the people, sit them down, or if they come in to speak, all right, these are the questions, answer the question.
All right, let's talk about making money.
Money.
Let's talk about making some money, because this billionaire got in the White House because he had plenty of money. All right?
No, he didn't have a lot of money. His backers had money.
Well, anyway, he got there because he knew how to talk about making money and putting people to work. So I want to talk a little bit about putting the African-American community to work. And I was interested in your Long Island African-American Chamber of Commerce. So I'm going to run this piece on yourself and take a look at it. It's very interesting, Graham. I want you to take a look at this. He has something going here. He's going to teach us how to make money.
My name is Phil Andrews. I'm the president of the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce. What's unique about the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber offers networking, business development, financial empowerment, forums, conferences, and seminars. We are in line to certify more minority businesses in conjunction with the recent order of the governor to make the quota of 20% of business done with the state of New York. This is an unprecedented opportunity for minorities to do business, and we are the voice to help grow businesses and also help market businesses. So I do believe that business is a team sport, and we bring those resources to increase the likelihood of the success of your team.
The African American Chamber of Commerce is currently partnering with Hofstra University in an effort to offer workshops so that women-owned businesses can complete the necessary paperwork to become certified so they can qualify for grants and other opportunities.
Belonging to the African American Chamber has been a win-win for us at Fidelis. It's enabled us not only to meet many community leaders, but we've been able to make contacts within the community.
This being a part of the Long Island African American Chamber of Commerce, it has given us a tremendous opportunity to expand our brand and leverage our capacity, and we're so thankful to be part of such an awesome organization.
Here at the African American Chamber of Commerce, we are poised to be one of the most significant business organizations in the region. For more information, give us a call.
Very good. I mean, that's, so I want to sign up. All right, I've got a whole community. I got all of Harlem for you. Matter of fact, I've got a complex called Esplanade Gardens, 1,800 apartments. I don't know how many people is in there. But this community needs to learn how to go into business, because that's a bunch of people and a bunch of money there. Now, how would you start with development such as that? And take it to every other development where there's a large African-American community.
Well, one of the things I'm a big advocate of, we need to rebuild social fabric. You know, when we have a sense of community, when we have an organization, give you an example, the National Business League with Booker T. Washington predates the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the largest chamber of commerce in this country. Now, we had a Chamber of Commerce in 1901 that Booker T. Washington established Why isn't there chambers in Atlanta? Why isn't there African American chamber in Harlem? All of these places all across America. Somehow we lost our way through integration. So what happened is we're rebuilding that. Even when I started the chamber, most of the African Americans in the community said, "Oh, we don't stick together. You know, we don't do business."
That's right.
I don't talk that language.
Okay.
When they talk that, I shut them down.
Okay.
Because I'm showing you that I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
So one of the things that we have a problem with is language. We perpetuate a lot of language that's to our own demise.
Okay.
And we have, we established in 2010, I took over in 2013. We got 200 members already, and we've been on WABC, NBC, Positively Black. We got the system automated, and we, by geographical nature alone, being 1 million African Americans in Brooklyn, 500,000 in Queens, and about 300,000 in Long Island. Hey, we geared to be the largest.
There's 300,000
Yes,
African Americans
yes.
in Long Island.
So we got the largest concentration of African Americans in the country, and probably the wealthiest, right? I would say this market is possibly is one of the wealthiest, highest incomes in the nation. So we got plenty of businesses, but we need organization, and that's one of the things. Organization is mean people coming together, work, people with different skills. Now, if the business can't do it, you know, because business people have a different type of drive. You know, business can make something out of nothing. Matter of fact, that's what I call business, high drama, the art of making something out of nothing. That's what businesses do.
So you're going to put me in the business and take all my production for the last 20 years, and we're going to start to market all that stuff, right?
Oh yes, definitely. I think you definitely got. It's a product. Somebody like I happen to look at some of the shows, and you know, and I'm sorry I didn't look at more of them. I'm going to look at probably all of them because there's something I can learn. Like I learned a lot about Gil Noble the other day.
Okay.
How he got into broadcasting.
Right.
How he missed the mark on Malcolm X, and I'm looking at this guy like he's a legend.
Yeah.
But yet he missed something as simple as knowing that Malcolm X was an important person.
Yeah.
You know, and he held that guilt with him the rest of his life that
a lot
this
of us
is why
didn't
I'm
know
producing
about, a lot of
what
us
I do.
didn't know about Malcolm till after Malcolm died. That was his whole point. But that's what happened with most of our leaders. The same thing with Martin. And with, you know, all of them.
But Adam Clayton Powell said, remember Adam Clayton Powell, he said, it's in your hands, it's in your hands. The power is in your hand. We have a tremendous amount of power.
Okay.
And even one of my mentors, he used to always say, we have the power, internal power to define, to alter, to transform, to even upgrade our own image. When we learn how our own mind works, we learn how all minds work, and thereby we can transform that understanding to others. So we got a lot of power.
Right.
And one of the things that really inspired me was George Washington Carver.
Okay.
They asked him, how did he get so much out the peanut? You know what he said? He said, well, if God is in the peanut, then an infinite amount of things can come out the peanut.
Oh, I never heard that
Then
before.
he went and he said, well, if the same God is in me that's in the peanut, then an infinite amount of things can come out of me. The whole of life is knowing your relativity to your maker.
Yes.
That's how he was able to extract so much out the peanut. Now, simply if a peanut can get that much out of it, I think we could do more.
Amen. Amen. I like that. That's inspiring.
That's phenomenal.
Actually,
And I got this book in the jewel. I just happened to go to the library one day. They had one of the best collections in Long Island, Roosevelt Public Library. It had a book with that quote. And that changed that.
Say it again?
I went to the library.
No, say the quote.
George Washington, somebody came to ask him, how did he find so much in the peanut? And he said, if God is in the peanut, then there's an infinite amount of possibility in the peanut. Then he said, if the same God is in the peanut, then an infinite amount of things can come out of me. The whole of life is knowing your relativity to your maker. That quote changed me. You know, I mean, that's we got unlimited potential.
You see, well, most black people don't understand the spirituality that lies within them. That's what we talk about at every show. You know, the God in me loves the God in you. They think that's just a saying. But that's what we have to feel and generate towards each other. We have to learn to be fair to one another.
There's a creative essence that man has. And if we just step back and just detach from a lot of the noise and rancor out there.
Donald Trump.
And sit down and think and meditate and just ask God, you know, like, what do you want me to do? I'd like to achieve something in life. I think that God will give it. He says he will give to all men who ask, and he gives it liberally. I was with a friend. We were hanging out on the weekend, and our wives were playing golf, and we were in Brooklyn in the heat. You know, they were in South Carolina playing golf. But I thought about golf, and I said, wait a minute. How many times have I lost a ball playing golf? Then I thought, I can take out my phone and I can see where my car is. If I've parked it somewhere, it'll show me where my car is. That same GPS, I could put that on a golf ball. And he said, wow.
That's inventive.
Now he's in engineering. I said, all right, this is it. This is it. Tonight we're on this thing. And I said, I got golf balls at home. I'm going to drill down. I looked into how golf balls are made. I'm looking up all this stuff.
Wow, that's $1 million idea.
And he says, great idea, but somebody thought of it
already.
And they've come out with the GPS golf balls. They're on the market, just coming on the market this month. And I said, man.
Solved the major problem.
So it's there.
Somebody thought about it a long time
Somebody
ago.
got it. Somebody was ahead of me. But today, I thought of something else.
Uh-oh.
And I told my wife, she said, that's a great idea.
Don't mention it now.
And she said, and no one has come up with it, because if it was out, we would see it. So, and you know, the difficulties of minority-owned businesses, and not minority, and we're not the minority. We are the majority. The people of color are now the majority in this country.
Black-owned businesses.
So we know for many years, white women who were fronted by their husbands received most of the financing for women and minorities in business. How does the Chamber of Commerce deal with some of that? And how do you help people? I know you had a list of things that you do. Do you help people put together a business plan? Is a business plan truly necessary to get started, or is it necessary later on once you got yourself sort of on a solid footing and you might need financial assistance? When is the business plan really necessary?
I think a
and
business
before
plan.
that,
Okay.
explain what a Chamber of Commerce is.
Oh, okay. Well, the
Because
Chamber.
most people don't know.
Well, Chamber of Commerce is a 501c6.
Okay.
It's a membership-based organization, meaning we do some good for the public, but if you join a business, we're going to help you. And like he was saying is a business plan, a simple thing like that. Yeah, business plan is real important. You need to be sold on your own business. So you need a guide. You wouldn't try to go down to Texas without having the GPS. So you need to know where you're going in a business.
Okay.
But a plan could be fluid, meaning that at different points of your life, the plan different, it changes. You know, you need a daily plan, don't you?
Right.
You need a weekly plan. You need a monthly plan. You need a mid-range plan. You need a long-term plan. So one of the things that we do is also encourage people, because you may be at a point where your business cannot succeed, and you need sometimes you need psychological support to have an economic benefit. Because sometimes, like, I got members that first thing I asked them, have you ever took a business course? I had somebody in my family had a restaurant. They was serving the food every day to the customers. I asked them, well, how do you know how much it costs what you're giving the customers? No, I just grab a whole bunch and put it in there. You know, well, there's some costs tied. How are you going to know if you profit if you don't know how much you're spending? So I think business training is very important. We call it capacity building. Technical assistance. It's like, you know, anybody got 8 kids, it's not the same as raising one, right?
Right.
So when you start to grow a business, it starts to have complexities because there's a lot of things going on at one time. Just like a store, let me give you an example. A store could be selling peach Snapple, and it sells out all the time. And then the customer keeps coming in for the peach Snapple, and what's gonna happen? When he keeps coming in, they don't have it, right? That's going to affect your business. So that's why it's a lot of things going on in business. It's like a whole circle of things. And sometimes when you're on top of a problem, you can't see it. Have you ever been in that situation?
Yeah.
And businesses are like that too. My mentors say most business, they ain't doing business. They're doing business because they don't understand business. You have to understand the language of business, cash flow, marketing, management, leadership. So a lot of people go into business based on what they love to do, right? You know. Yeah,
and you have workshops that teach all this?
Yes, we call it capacity building. We do capacity building. We put in funding for grants. We just got a grant today in Washington, D.C. from the U.S. Black Chamber to support our MWBE efforts. And one of the things that we do at MWBE efforts is we are advocacy. Our voice is so loud, the governor hears what we're saying. Yeah. So the governor calls us. They call me on a regular basis. Sometimes we see something wrong, my members say this is wrong, they ask me to write a letter to the governor. Now they don't know how many people in my organization, right? So that means we can have impact, and we can do some things that the business can't do themselves. Because if the business do it, what they're gonna do? They're gonna shut down your business. But we are set up, advocacy is a part of the things that we do. And you know, when you advocate for something, then they come to you as the person that has the voice. And agencies, what we also do is sometimes I go to the procurement people with them, like the schools. They can't get into the schools. I go as the president and take my business to introduce them directly. Because some of it is relationships. Some of it is like, it's a good old boy network. If you don't know how to develop relationships, you know, like, and let me show you, like Queens College, I developed a relationship with them because I got honored with the president. And he was like, oh, I want to work with you. I want to work with you in procurement and retention. Because, you know, Queens College have very few African Americans. But guess what? It's a project right across
Queens College, say that again?
Very few African Americans.
Where?
In Queens College, in Flushing. In Flushing.
On Casino Boulevard.
On Casino Boulevard.
You're kidding.
But it's predominantly Asian and Indian. But they want to work with me so they can recruit African male teachers and more students in that population. So sometimes when you have a leader involved, you know,
Trump territory, huh?
Yeah. We give more resources to the community. So technical assistance is one of the things we do. Access to capital. Finding money is very important too, because some businesses, they don't know how to access capital. So we just put on an access to capital. We brought the Small Business Administration. We brought banks, technical assistance. Some people don't know, they get to a certain point, they don't know how to grow their business to the next level. So we work with Goldman Sachs, 10,000, all type of different programs they got. But what I found is if African Americans are not involved, like on a leadership level, you have to have somebody advocating for you. Just like, that's how 100 Black Men was started. You know, the 100 Black Men in New York City? Somebody have to be the voice of the downtrodden. Somebody got to have power, meeting power. Because, you know, you don't get access to these things unless you got power. Like, give you an example, in Nassau County, I sit on the Controllers Committee for MWBE. I mean, that's a big deal. He got a minority business enterprise committee, but I sit on his committee. So if my people in the community have a question on how the county dollars are being spent, I tell them, come to the meeting and address the county, let them hear. Because, you know, it all goes, a lot of this goes back to, if people ain't doing the right thing, put them out of office. Right? Am I right? Because your power, to me, voting is power. But, and even Trump said it. He said we were sleeping. We were sleeping at the wheel. Many of us didn't come out to vote. And traditionally, you know when we vote the most, right? When it's an African-American candidate. Then then it's off the channel. But I believe my philosophy is I vote every day. I vote every day by my action, by my participation. That me being at the table. Because someone said if you're at the table, you could take something away. And you can also put something there. So I believe in being in the room, being where we need to be, and advocating. Because advocacy is a big piece. You know, you ever heard of a nonprofit advocating and then get millions of dollars? Because they become that voice of mentoring. So as we become the voice of a business entity, and now other organizations, other communities come to us too, because there's other companies that want to deal with our market. We say we do business with other people, but we do business with each other too. Because, you know, we ain't going to turn down no greenbacks.
You know, what do you market? What do you market?
Well, we market, one of the things we do is we market the businesses inside the chamber. By them being in the chamber.
What sort of businesses do you have in the chamber?
We got multi-million-dollar project managers. We got ladies that sell electrical equipment, businesses that you wouldn't even think African Americans is in. We got attorneys, of course we got the insurance brokers. So we got a diverse, very, very diverse organization.
So inventors?
Not yet inventors, but those are things. We do have one young lady, she's from Harlem. She went to school to design her own shoe. So I've been working with.
what?
She could design a shoe from scratch. She went to FIT.
FIT. Oh.
But she can design the sketch
went
the
to
shoe. But
FIT.
what we've been doing with her, I sent her to Weibo. You heard of Weibo?
Yeah.
She's now in the 10th week of Weibo. I sent her to Access to Capital. She's now going to be on there's a program coming to Harlem Parks. She submitted it, and now she got into the Harlem Parks, and she's going to be selling her stuff. So when you're around business people, you get better.
You know, is McKissick Architecture?
Oh yeah, we work with them too. They do the storm recovery. We did one seminar with them in Amityville. McKissick, that's a second generation. I think it's a third generation.
Third generation.
Third generation
Black
firm.
architecture
Wow.
firm.
Been around a long time.
They built Mega Evers
Wow.
down in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
They built
yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
one of
yeah.
their projects. They're doing terminals out at Kennedy Airport. They've built multi-million-dollar projects across the country. But they're
I've heard of them. I didn't know they were
based
black.
in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the things as a company, simple things like that. We have another young lady, Barbara Amon Corporation. She's got a multi-state firm, and we had her tell her story. You know, talk to our community how you navigated this challenge. You know, and that's what we need to do too. We need to highlight our success, because sometimes we focus on the failure so much, we don't even get to highlight success. Where, like, I heard some people would say, well, I don't got to wear my blackness on my shoulder. Sometimes it may be appropriate. Sometimes it may be another strategy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really is relationship. What I believe is relationship, but we're gonna knock on that door. I'm gonna send a letter. I'm gonna advocate. You know, and it seemed to be working because what community don't have a business organization?
Well, you know, what I see here is the strength of your character. You know, throughout this whole program, you've shown me that how you've grown over the years. You know, you come out of a policeman background and with no wounds, no psychosis. I would think that would drive you batty being in 20 years in correction.
Well, I was always on the social side too. Even in the correction, I was on the board of the directors of the 100 Black Men.
Well, I mean, just being in jail all those hours. I don't know, just my imagery of it. But it's nice meeting two nice guys in corrections. Time to go. Stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience. Hope you found something acceptable and growing. And let's get rid of Donald Trump. The God in me loves the God in you.
Yeah, be careful how you say that. They might misconstrue that.
No,
the men in suits will be at your door tonight.
Hey, come get me. All right. God in me loves the God in you. Stay tuned for next week. More of the Gilchrist Experience. That's 10 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Oh, she's got the Gilchrist Experience up there.
2.